Everybody, welcome back to the Move Plus. We are going to be doing these a little bit more often for the rest of the Vuelta a España, since we had a positive reaction to the last one, and the American Sepp Kuss is now somewhat securely in the GC lead after the time trial, which was going to be the biggest test he'd face at this race. I just wanted to ask you, Johan, if you were Quick-Step, they didn't do anything today on stage 11. Jesus Herrada won from the breakaway. This is a classic Vuelta stage, hockey stick profile, 160K long. Jesus Herrada wins from the breakaway. GC group comes through, nothing happens. Quick-Step actually blocks the road, keeps it quiet up the climb. Remco does kind of a weird little sprint at the end for no reason whatsoever, just to waste energy, I guess. But if you were directing Quick-Step, and we're getting into the Pyrenees at the end of this week, high mountains, really good for Sepp Kuss, how would you go about unseating him? He has over a minute advantage on Remco Evenepoel, and it seems like they're not interested to do it on these short, explosive climbs.
Yeah, I mean, today was, it's not an ideal stage today to do something, because even if it would have been for the win, we would probably have seen a battle amongst the 10, 12 strongest riders with barely no differences. So I think they should start to get worried. Sepp Kuss is more than a minute ahead of Remco. Where the question is, where are they going to take this time back, right? I think, of course, they have a plan, and they're going to try to attack him, but they have to have in mind that Sepp Kuss normally, when he gets dropped or when he pulls off on the last climbs, he's been doing a lot of work already. He has not done any of that, not just in these stages, but during this Vuelta. Even in the stage he won, he had his teammates work for him, and then he finished the job. So after yesterday's time trial, and after him defending this red jersey really, really well, I'm sure. And Remco actually yesterday said also, hats off to Sepp Kuss. He surprised me with his time trial. I think Remco was counting on at least taking 2 minutes back, and he did. I think he took back 1 minute 15 or 1:13. It's the problem of Remco is not just Sepp Kuss. The problem of Remco and Soudal-QuickStep is Jumbo-Visma. They have 3 riders. Yes, Jonas Vingegaard is definitely not in the shape of the Tour de France. We already knew that, but yesterday was maybe a little bit disappointing. But still, the big climbs, the Pyrenees have to come. The 2 biggest climbs of the whole Vuelta are still ahead of us: the Tourmalet and the Angliru. And this is definitely the best Sepp Kuss terrain of the whole Vuelta. So the question is, where are you going to take this time back? They just have to count on the fact that they first of all, they have to try. And they have to count on the fact that it's Sepp Kuss's 3rd Grand Tour, and that hopefully somehow he's going to run out of energy. For the moment, I have to say, I don't see it happening, because Sepp looks, out of the 3 Grand Tours, he looks the best out of the 3. He looks better than in the Giro, better than in the Tour. And now that finally he has something to defend, today, for example, you could clearly see Remco did this acceleration. Who was like glue on his wheel? Sepp Kuss didn't lose 1 centimeter of time. So I don't know, man. I don't know. They're obviously in a very difficult situation, because let's say they crack Sepp Kuss. Sepp Kuss is not going to get dropped on just 1 acceleration. It needs to be a hard pace, a pace that Sepp Kuss sets normally himself before.
Yeah, exactly.
So the question is, who do they have within their team to do that, right? One thing, for example, I question about Soudal-QuickStep was, if they have, and they have to have this attacking plan of how can we unsettle Sepp Kuss. Until now, the best rider, the last rider to be with Remco, was Matteo Cattaneo. He was the guy who always was there in the last, and actually set a really, really hard pace on some of the climbs. And then yesterday I see that Matteo Cattaneo finished 6th in the time trial. Well, makes 0 sense to me. That just makes no sense. How would you allow a guy who is until now the last man standing next to Remco waste this kind of energy, So, I mean, how they're going to do it, I don't know. I think the only way that this can happen is if we see an extremely superior Remco Evenepoel. And then, if he can put Sepp Kuss into problems, then he still has another problem, which is called Primoz Roglic.
Who's sitting right behind him. And Jonas Vingegaard is not up to his Tour de France level. He's only, 113? Something behind Remco Evenepoel with terrain that suits him coming up. And that's what I can't quite get past. I mean, Remco, amazing rider. As we've been talking about off mic all week, the guy's incredible. Like 48 pro victories at the age of 23. That's ridiculous. Almost no one can do that. But what he's not been able to do, I went back through all his performances in stage races. He's never really performed well on a stage where there's multiple HC climbs on a stage. He's going to see that Friday, Saturday. If I was Quickstep, I would plan on limiting losses on those stages. And today, after the stage, he's saying, well, it's not on us to make the pace hard. Well, it's like, well, if it's not on you to make the pace hard, how do you ever expect Sepp Kuss to be dropped? Because wouldn't Jumbo then be the one trying to make the pace hard if it's not you guys? And Jumbo's not going to drop their own rider. It's not clear to me that there's a plan. And that's what the time trial slip up would suggest, that there's not a big plan behind the scenes.
Yeah, well, I think there is not a plan. There is a day-to-day plan, in my opinion, and I think that it also kind of makes sense to me, because until now, Remco has been proven to be a rider, sometimes unpredictable. Sometimes he's super strong, then he has a weak moment. Everybody thinks he's going downhill, and then all of a sudden he's super again. So I think it's probably also based on that, that how Remco feels. And if he says, hey guys, today my legs are super, just, drill it from the bottom of it's. I can't see it happening on the Tourmalet or on the Angliru. That's really man against man. And, doesn't matter if you have a strong team or not. You just, Tourmalet, you could say, okay, it's not from the side of La Mongie, it's from the other side. Long, but not as steep, although it is hard and it goes, quite high up. But it's the legs that do the talking, not the team strength. Angliru is the same thing. There are a lot of other climbs, though, that are still in this Vuelta that maybe not come so much to the attention, but are very hard also. So, on one of these climbs, it can happen. Also, it's a minute. Was it a minute 9 or a minute 7?
A minute 9.
Minute 9. You can say, okay, it is a minute 9. You can also say, okay, it is only 1 minute 9. One bad moment could be enough, to lose a minute, right? But it will depend on Remco having one or several super days. I honestly, I think it's a very difficult task. We will need to see a Remco Evenepoel who is superior for him to win this Vuelta. It's possible, but it's going to be a huge, huge ask.
And the beauty of the Jumbo-Visma vice that they've built here is, so let's say Remco is trying to crack Sepp Kuss. He's on the front. Well, who do you think is going to be on his wheel? It's going to be Primoz Roglic, Jonas Vingegaard, and they're going to be getting a slight draft on these climbs. And then, so what happens when they get to the end? Primoz is probably going to attack Remco, unless he's so strong that it's like San Sebastian Remco and he just drops everybody and see you later. I just won the race. Unless that happens, it is tricky for him, with Jumbo having 3 riders within 222 of the race lead. That's really tough.
Listen, Spencer, we always said from the very beginning that this was going to be very difficult for Remco. It was going to be very difficult for somebody who is not Jumbo-Visma to win this Vuelta. And we were talking about only Roglic and Vingegaard. Now we have this third person, Sepp Kuss, who's ahead of his 2 leaders. I mean, what do you want to do? There's not much you can do.
Do you think, in retrospect, stage 6, are teams kicking themselves about letting Kuss get up the road?
Huge mistake. They could never have let, not just because Sepp Kuss was there, but you never let a group of 40 riders go away. You just don't do that, because you never know what's going to happen. But the fact that, everything was against. I personally think it was, Soudal-QuickStep and others, and Ineos at that point, they were still in the game, and Movistar, they were sleeping. It's not just Sepp Kuss. There were 4 Jumbo-Visma riders in there. That just, you can't let that happen. So they were not paying attention, not concentrated. And, when 40 riders go away and there's that much interest in the front, you can't correct that. It's game over. And, I still think as of today that Soudal-QuickStep was very fortunate that Movistar and Ineos came to help them. Otherwise, it would have been the Vuelta was already decided in the favor of Sepp Kuss or Marc Soler. We never know with him.
I mean, I'm of the opinion, you've kind of talked me into this over the last few days, but Ineos probably had to work, right? You came to this race for Geraint Thomas. Just work. What are you going to do? Not work? Sorry, Geraint, you've had a bad first 5 days. We're out on you. But it looks a little crazy now that they worked for him, kind of kept Kuss's gap somewhat respectable, and then now they're out of the GC. And it's like, wow, QuickStep is really glad you did all that free work for them for no gain for yourself. So I guess that's just how the things play out. And one thing I noticed from today, when Remco went, who was right on his wheel? Sepp Kuss. I mean, he's defending this jersey. Like, this is not going away easily. He's not going to defer to his teammates, the 2 big stars. I guess that could get a little messy, but my feeling is internally, I think that, obviously Remco wants to win. I'm sure Jonas wants to win, but I think the team would probably be happy with Sepp Kuss winning this.
Would be amazing. I mean, and then, then you win the 3 Grand Tours with 3 different riders.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, we have to go record our outcomes show, predicting tomorrow's stage. But do you have anything else to add before we take off, Johan?
No, let's see. We're going to talk about stage 12 now. But, go Sepp Kuss. Would love to see it happen. Yeah,
Fridays, Saturday, big stages by Sunday. I mean, we'll have a pretty good idea about how firmly Kuss is in this race lead. But I don't think this is coming back without a fight. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, thanks, Johan, and we will be back soon to do another one of these.